There was never one where there aren't some misspelled words or bad grammar.
I think some of those churches.
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. This is still restarting, so
Yep.
you go ahead, I guess.
We're good to go. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Okay, a little after our starting point here. Join me in pledge of allegiance and we'll have a word of prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Lord, be with us today as we deliberate the business of the county. Help us, Lord, to keep in mind the best interest of our taxpayers. Help us, Lord, to keep in mind your teachings and help us just to be kind, to be good, and be the very best people that we can be today. I ask all these things, Lord, in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, should have received the minutes from the June 10th meeting.
There was one small
Stan?
change that
Okay.
Doug gave me that I
Right.
picked, that I added something to it.
Stan, I believe that's a meeting you were not present for, so.
Okay, so no problem with the existing minutes. I move that we approve.
Okay, I'll second that motion. Motion carries.
I try to get through everything I have best I can with this happening. I've been restarting for 5 minutes.
Huh.
Five, are you out there? I just got a circle going. Okay, I'm gonna try to get through my stuff here the best I can. And the first thing we have is Allied Weekly Health Insurance claims.
From your.
Yeah. Those are in the amount of 73,784.48. And let's look. That is all medical. There were adjustments of 117,642.57 from all medical 191,427.05, which left 73,784.48.
Motion to approve.
Second.
That motion carries.
You should have received via email the payroll time card approvals for appointed department heads.
I reviewed those, did not see any concerns from my seat.
Yeah, I'm fine.
I move we accept payroll or the overtime.
Okay.
Report.
Stan? Okay, motion made and seconded. That motion passes. Those signed.
All right. Next, we're going to have this, we have this, every year. What is today, 17th? It is the annual covered bridge certification. We need this approved.
Do you need to do it now?
I don't know, because
I heard you say it.
it just keeps restarting. Anyway, covered bridge certification, I have, you guys approve that, sign it, I send it back to the state.
I move that we sign the covered bridge certification form.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion passes. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, I didn't, you weren't.
But I think we're still live streaming this, I think we're okay, but. That's good. Here, sit down, you want to? Okay, next, I had also sent you the monthly clerk report submitted by Shelley Bright. I emailed that to you. I don't know if you want to look at the clerk report or not. I sent it to you.
Yeah,
but-
no, we saw that, or I saw that.
Make a motion, we enter that in the record.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion passes.
I think that's how I worded it, so entering into the record. I'm out. That's the only way I can get in here. It doesn't recognize my hand on. I should have to do this again. This is the time on the live stream, it should say technical difficulties.
Yeah.
Hey, Steve, on that covered bridge thing, where is that sent to? What agency?
State comptroller,
Oh, just a comptroller, okay.
thank you.
Comptroller.
Yeah, it goes to the state comptroller's office. Okay. Next, we have payroll claims. Those payroll claims are in the amount of $392,734.91. $392,734.91.
I move we approve payroll 392,734.91.
Second.
Okay, thanks, guys. That motion passes.
Sorry, I'm cutting into Nate and Brad and Paul's. I don't know if they're gonna forgive me for that. Okay, next I handed out to you prior to the meeting, the county treasurer's monthly report. We would seek to enter that into the record.
I move that we enter the county treasurer's monthly report into our record.
I'll second that.
I also put in front of you this
That motion
morning,
passes.
the monthly animal control report submitted by, the Sprungers. Jenny Sprunger.
Entertain a motion to accept the animal control report.
Okay, let me look over that real quick. I didn't have a chance. Okay,
And that's animal control, not animal shelter.
I got animal control. Looks like this is from Chad Sprunger, right?
Right.
Yep.
Okay, 280 miles driven, 70 cents per mile, $196. Looks like he transported 11 animals. I see no problem. I'll move that we accept, Stan, the animal control report.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. It looks like everything came from the Decatur area, except the two from Burn PD.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Burn has people just bringing them into the PD once they're captured, or if Burn goes out and captures them, but yeah, I'll second that motion to enter that in the record.
Okay, that motion passes.
I've got two more things to get it into the record. But these will we'll go ahead and do these even though Inspector Hackman is here later on the agenda. He comes before you once a year to see whatever questions you might have or so forth and so on. Any other problems that we want to throw Dan's way, we'll just do it at that time. Okay, cool. So the first, I put in front of you the monthly weights and measures report. Eric, you got a copy of all that stuff?
Yeah, we did, yeah. Oh,
Any
Looks like we
questions
got-
on
We
that?
have two of them, right?
We're
You
gonna
have
do
the
one at a
monthly and then
time.
you have an annual.
Yes.
You have a monthly one.
Monthly one we're gonna do first.
Okay, that's the,
May 16th to June 15th.
yeah, May 16th through June. Move that we accept Dan Hackman's, weights and measures monthly report, from May 16 to June 15.
Second.
That motion passes.
Okay. And then we have
And you have the annual.
the annual weights and measures report.
Dan, do you ever have any issues with non-compliance?
very rarely.
I gave you all a copy of that
Yeah.
one too. right?
But once you go back to them, then they typically have solved the,
Taken care of,
yeah, good.
unlike some other counties who I hear.
Oh, really? Yeah. I make a motion to accept the annual report from June 16th of 2024 to June 15th of 2025.
Okay, I'll second that report, but just for the information, just for the, people that are here, might mention the number of, reports that Dan did.
Sure, go ahead, Doug.
Okay, looks like, correct me if I'm not saying this right, Dan, you don't look the same as when I had you in cross country. I wonder why that is.
Younger.
You're younger, that's it.
You might not look the same either.
Problem was I could outrun it. Okay, correct total for the year. Correct checks was 1,002. He had rejected 26 throughout the year. A red tag of 8, which means what, Dan? A red tag? Pardon me?
Locked out, scale down.
Shut the scale down, okay. And then, the total for the year was 1,118 checks. That's a lot of checks, and we appreciate your work. Okay,
So
we
do
did
you-
accept that.
Do you have annual recertifications that you have to do? I forget. Cause I know you had to initially.
Hey, Dan,
Dan, just come on up.
come on up. We're gonna, when I looked at this report, I thought we might as well just wrap this all into one,
I
because
mean-
we're gonna have questions.
If we're gonna do this anyway, you might as well do it when you got
Yeah.
the report.
Your question was, do I have certification? We have a state conference every year, and they count that as certification because they put training into it, training sessions into that. It's a 3-day conference somewhere in the state, it's different places every year. This
Are
year it's
you, are you
Coruscant.
reimbursed for conference fees and mileage or how does
Yes.
that? Okay.
Yes. Yeah, because depending where it's at, sometimes it's southern Indiana, where it's not feasible to drive back and forth, so you go to a hotel for a couple nights.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Plus mileage, yeah.
And a county like Allen County that makes us look small, they probably have more than one person in your
They
position.
have 2 full-time guys. I'm part-time, they're
Yeah.
2 full-time.
Yeah,
Sure.
understood. Appreciate your work. It's important that we have someone out there as a watchdog
Yeah.
on this stuff. because-
What do we need to know? What would you like to tell us other than your
Going
report?
well. Doug called me working one day down at Rediger Farm. You were pulling telephone poles with tractor.
Yeah, that's
He was
right.
Checking the scale down there, truck scale.
Okay.
No, it's been going well.
Good. Anything you need from us?
Now, there's possibly, I might have to move some money from one part of the budget to another part a little bit later in the year because the prices of things went up quite a bit.
Sure.
This certification tags for the state doubled the price, $250 to $500.
Wow.
Wow.
And like I said, we cancel, but.
Yeah. Yep.
And us.
So,
And I suppose when you run up a situation where you reject or red tag it, you evidently got good cooperation because we've heard nothing. So,
yeah, we just shut that scale down. Now, the other ones where it says, rejected isn't shut down. Rejected is you give them a week or 2 weeks to get, depending what the problem is, to get it fixed. Just outside tolerance, not gonna cause a problem really anywhere. So you give them a week or so, depending how quick they can get a company in to recalibrate. And you go back and recheck it again. Now, if it's red tagged, it's shut down right away. Some gas pumps sometimes you get, where they're leaking
right.
down below the pump or
Sure.
something, you gotta shut it down.
Now, once in a while, I'll see a big tandem axle truck come in with weights and all of that kind of stuff, and they're checking scales too. Do they make contact with you that they're coming
Yes.
into the county or
They
anything?
contact me and make sure that I can be there the same day they're gonna be there.
Okay, good.
It's like Annabus, Farwick, there's about 3 or 4 of them. Breck Bueller. They go and check your truck scales because they bring 30,000 pound weights with them.
Right. Like a layman feed mill deal.
Yes, yes. You know, the county like Rediger Farm, so.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
coming into that
those
one.
big scales.
Truck scales. I'm just there to certify, go through the testing with them, make sure it's gonna write my certification sticker on it. Scale.
Yeah.
Good.
And there's no tolerance. I mean, they're, I mean, do they give a pound variance or?
It varies based on what the capacity of the scale is, because, you know, we have prescription scales at the drugstore all the way up to 80,000 pound truck or scales at Bungie. to come in there.
Yeah, Bungie.
Railway scales. The tolerance varies, what the size of the scale is.
Well, that's good because, you know, you got a grain farmer that's visiting Lehman's or Bungie every several times. They want to make sure that what they're selling is accurate.
Absolutely.
Super.
Good.
Appreciate it, Dan.
Other questions for Dan?
Good.
Okay.
Yep.
Dan,
Thank
thanks,
you.
thanks
Good
for what you
seeing you.
do. Tony, what else have you got for us?
That's all that I had.
Accounts payable voucher, is that just,
Yeah, accounts payable last week.
maybe I dug that out of my last week's
We
report.
had that last week. Thank you.
Okay, nothing else for us, Tony?
No.
Okay, Nate.
Morning.
Items for you here. First thing is requesting approval of an agreement that is discussed at the last meeting briefly was the Bridge 105. It's a deck overlay rehabilitation. It was one of the projects that we had submitted for federal funds, but we were not successful on that one. So I'm looking to do this as a locally funded project. I'm doing some of the design work and have already. The consulting agreement with HWC is essentially similar to our on-call contracts. They will end up developing some of the plans themselves, but they're gonna be working with me on that. And the total for this agreement is an hourly not to exceed $15,000. Their
Agreement.
rate structure is included in that. I think based on kind of past history on some of these similar projects, this is a significant reduction. We've done similar projects elsewhere. They were in the ranges of $60,000 to $90,000 consulting agreements. So this is a good use of both my time and consultant services. I'm hoping to continue in that vein. So with your approval, I'm certainly recommending this agreement for.
So the agreement, the 15,000 is just for consulting. It's not for any work.
Well,
Not for any-
consulting. Yeah, they may produce some plans in that, some details, but we're gonna work collaboratively in that. So much of this, my plan was to do it under my stamp. This would allow them to do it themselves. So we're gonna be at that amount more or less, depending on how we finalize that project.
But that's not for any actual work on the bridge itself.
Nope, no construction. Yep,
That's just
so this is
consulting.
very similar to some of the other consultants that you're familiar with. HWC is a similar firm to Butler, Fairman and Seifert, USI, Commonwealth on the sewer side, Aegis BLN, so without throwing more letter acronyms out.
Sure.
This is a very similar firm in that avenue.
Where's HWC located?
It's a great question. Where's your headquarters?
Indianapolis is our headquarters. We have offices at New Albany, Terre Haute, Hammond. We've got a few across the state, but our main headquarters is in Indianapolis for our transportation.
And you're the representative for this Northeast Indiana primarily?
Yes, so I work in the Northeast Indiana area for business development. I actually live up here locally, so it's a little bit easier for me to be here, there, and everywhere. I reside in Dublin now.
Appreciate you coming in and updating us.
So you feel like that's the most efficient way to get this?
It's certainly gonna be very efficient for us. Now it just comes down to, once I've got a plan, I need to be able to find a way to fund it.
Sure.
So.
All right,
that'll
so
be
we
my
need a
dilemma.
motion.
We do.
So moved.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, Doug. That motion
And then what
passes.
road is Bridge on?
000 north of 3 south.
0 north of.
300 south.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
just
yeah,
north of
yeah,
that old
yeah.
school
Right,
house.
right.
It's the Amishman is what it is.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, it's-
So the road will be down, when you do that project, you're gonna be down for a few days?
Oh, yes, it'd probably be, when we finally do it, probably, I would estimate a month, depending on the
Wow.
final.
When are you gonna do it?
That really depends. Right now, I don't have it in the budget for next year. I've got one bridge rehab budgeted, and it's gonna come down to which one I can find funding, and if we get community crossings money, so.
Well, one suggestion I would make, Nate, on that location, being close to the Lehman feed mill, is try to get it done
Try to stay out of the
off
harvest
of
season.
harvest season, right?
No, understood.
Okay.
Do we need a signature on this from Steve?
There is, I think there's just a single spot for Steve to sign on that.
Okay.
Did you sign
I
it?
did not.
I was
know.
looking, I couldn't
You
find
can
the
sign
spot.
it.
so.
I think there's just one on that one.
Is that a school bus route?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah,
it
I'm
is.
sure, yeah.
It's in
Sure.
everything.
Heavily
around right
traveled,
now. That's the
000.
problem. So, but yep. Next item here is just an update on a culvert project. I know we've been waiting on some of the small structures to start. Summer construction season for me has been unfortunately delayed based on weather, rain like we have. Ish Excavating is working on the replacement of culvert 134. That's on County Road 650 southwest of 200 east. As I mentioned in the drainage board meeting just a little bit ago, we're having some complications with the field tiles and the county legal tile that feed into that, trying to track them down. The road was closed yesterday. Certainly there's lane limitations with all the equipment there, but I believe they have the gravel road surface back on, so emergency equipment could get through, but certainly the location is to be avoided right now. They still need to pour the concrete drop structure. There's a box that sits on the southwest side of that roadway that they'll need to be pouring later this week, and hopefully they're able to get that finished. They're certainly they're behind, they're about a full day behind schedule right now just because of dealing with the pipe and, all of the field problems that are coming into that. So thankfully, I think Mike Whirling's gonna send somebody out or gonna go out. I'm gonna go out this afternoon and try to chase it down. We'll make some progress on that.
Sheriff, just a quick question on dispatch. Do they, how do they handle a road closure? Do they put a note on their board, or if they have a dispatch in that area, do they include it in the
Correct.
in the
They have
notes?
they have it up on their board. They notify fire EMS, and then if there's dispatchers close to that area, they make a note of that after the dispatch. When units going around, and they'll say, reminder, 000 close, coming out of Monroe like it is right now. Or they do tell them that also.
Very good.
And when I instruct my contractors that they're to notify dispatch, but I act like I don't trust them and I end up sending emails anyway as soon as I think of it. So just to make
Most
sure.
contractors do contact us.
So I'm assuming that they do a pretty good job of letting them know, but I may harass them with extra emails like I did on this
It's
one.
not harassment, we'll take a double check. Not a problem.
So just in case something falls through the cracks. Speaking of Sheriff Dan here, I have been working with Dan. I know it's not on my notes, but I've been working with Dan both on plans revolving around Golden Meadows and working on part of his sanitary vent piping project, doing some coordination both from my past work experience and my education. It seemed like a good partnership for us to work together on coming up with a plan on addressing the facility rehabilitation project that we're working on. So I think we've got a meeting, not this week, but next week with the mechanical or plumbing engineer that had worked on that project. They're gonna do a site visit, and I'm planning on attending it. So wanted to make you aware of it, public aware of it, that we're working together, trying to make good use of my time and resources before we spend money on consultants.
I appreciate that.
So thank you, and thank you, Dan, for both the trust and the extra work, I guess, as far as that goes. And then lastly, on my notes, the HSIP guardrail safety contract, that's those bridge guardrail contract. I have submitted a notice to NDOT requesting those federal funds with the June starts the new fiscal, or the July starts the new fiscal year. So I've got the request in. So as soon as the new fiscal year kicks in, we should get a purchase order and then work and actually start on that. So we're in a big holding pattern on that project right now, but hopefully 4th of July or so we start.
I forget if that's a reimbursement grant.
That is a reimbursement grant. So part of my draft budget that I've turned in includes 100% of the money going out for that phase. And I'm hoping that and obviously we'll get actually on that one, 90% of that money would be reimbursed after I prove we paid it. So we'll spend the money, wait for the check to clear, get that payment in, and then 2 weeks to a month later, we should be able to get reimbursements. I just have to schedule reimbursements about every 3 months. So I may group them together so that there's regular activity. There's certain things that the feds want to see as far as the project. They don't want you to stop working, and stop working means you're not spending money from them. So I have to watch the timing on that, but yes.
Very good.
All right. Any other
Thank you,
questions
sir.
for me?
Thanks, Nate.
We're
Wonderful.
good,
Thank you.
Nate, thanks. Gentlemen. Morning, guys.
Morning.
Brad.
First thing today, we have a couple permits. The first one is for Jay County REMC on County Road 550 West between 400 South and 500 South. There is a new home going up there, so they are going to add one pole so they can run the power over the house.
How far does Jay County RMC come up?
I think well, it's weird, it's weird how it lays out.
Sporadic, it's
Yeah,
not
they have-
consistent.
They're
all the way up to 200 north, I know that.
Yeah, that
Wow.
area 300 South,
Wow.
yeah.
Within a half a mile, things vary. I&M may be on electricity. I may look across the field and see REMC's on.
Just a quick little side note on that, interesting, our 700 South project. South side of the road was I&M, north side of the road was REMC.
Really?
Both of them
full line of poles down the road. So,
Need a motion on that.
I move that we approve that permit, for, REMC to do the work that they need to do. Forget the location, but I know it's down our way somewhere.
550 west between 400 and 500 south.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion passes. Thanks.
The second one is from NIPSCO. And again, this is Nate's, I believe it goes with Nate's Bridge on 550 north between Pickler Road and 300 east. And that's where the gas line came up and ran across on the side of the bridge. And this is for the remediation of it.
NIPSCO, legitimate reason to approve that permit, and I will make that motion.
And you've looked at these?
Yes.
I'll second that.
Yeah, because I believe it was interesting on the NIPSCO one, because I think we just approved one a couple weeks ago, and I thought that's odd. Well, this calls a remediation. I'm
Oh,
not sure
really?
if this is the actual just cleaning it up part.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Because they were taking it off the bridge, right? And
Yes.
pouring under
Yep.
the,
So I think the first one might have been for the boring, the new one. This one here, they're actually gonna get off there.
get it off the bridge.
So then, really our only other point of discussion today, gentleman had asked us to do some research on paint striping. And we both have researched, Paul researched a lot of the equipment. We both talked to other counties and worked out. We went to a conference last week with a lot of other county highways. And we gave you some paperwork on just some of the stuff we found out. We've talked to other county highways. I actually talked to the firm that was doing our paint striping and, you know, just some of the facts we found out about it.
I just, looked over it briefly. It appears to me it's a rather expensive endeavor.
Yes.
Labor, not only labor wise, but initial cost.
One of the other county, Marshall County, we visited with them. They still have a paint striping truck. They no longer use it, but they did it for a couple years. And they actually figured out with the man hours that it actually takes to do it, maintenance, cost, cleanup and everything that goes into it. Like, the paint marking companies only charge 3 to 4 cents more than what they could do it in-house. He said it's not worth the hassle. He said that that's a piece of equipment. You can't just go decide that you're gonna spray 200 feet and then tomorrow you're gonna spray 300 feet. He said there's too much cleanup and waste and it's just a lot, so.
Very good. Hey, I appreciate the research.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we kind of, on the back, the second page is kind of a
Yeah.
picture. That's 500 west. That's Nate helped me draw the picture up there to kind of give you a visual on what it looks like,
What it could look like.
could look like. State requirements, if it's 45 mile an hour or above, you have to have a 6-inch wide stripe with 6-inch gap between. You can't go down to a 4-inch stripe until you're lower than 45 mile an hour. I think I listed all that stuff in there, so if you guys would have questions, I don't know that we need to go over it line by line unless you'd like to.
I don't think you need to. I guess if, you would kind of continue to take an increased look at that as far as contracting those services for additional roads, I think, you know, that'd be definitely a safety issue and, you know, especially as you're putting your budget together, I'm not sure how much of that budget is for striping and how often.
Well, that's one of them. We have a line item that covers multiple things.
Yeah.
It's not specifically
So-
for.
Yeah, right now, you know, like Minnick Road, highly traveled, 000, highly traveled. Those are the kind of the key areas you're focused on, I think.
Pickla, Minnick, Winchester,
Right.
you know, the three.
Even
we
the
did this year.
east-west, 900 north. and-
Okay,
Oh,
well, I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Very good.
And if you guys look over that and see that you have questions
If you
and
have any
stuff, just
questions,
reach out to us and
Okay.
I'll try to
Good
get
deal.
back.
Well, and that was the one thing I didn't know. I thought, well, when I'd heard there was another county doing it, I thought, well, maybe there's something to that.
Yeah.
You know,
And,
to where,
the one company I talked to said, yeah, there used to be more and it's down to only a couple they know of in the state that do their own.
they just got tired of it and
Yeah.
it wasn't worth it.
All the
Yeah.
liability and everything else that goes with it, everyone, you know, if there's an accident and they think that the striping had something to do because someone passed and they shouldn't have, and then they're coming after who's paint.
When the state's buying thousands and thousands of gallons and we'd be buying 50.
Right.
Big cost difference too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thanks,
All right,
guys.
Thank you.
Rick, what have you got for us today?
Just two things is what I have for right now. Doug, last week, you had mentioned to me about getting with Trey in the monument.
Yeah.
Myself and Trey and a contractor went over there yesterday morning and I introduced them. Trey's gonna get a quote to get that all sealed up.
Recocked, yeah.
So, good. I did need that in Trey. If they need me, come tell me, but he's gonna get it.
Good, thank you.
Still no hope on getting the fountain built. I mean, that's just not a,
Now we kinda, you've seen that, Doug.
Yeah.
just not a feasible operation.
Well, if you're gonna run it, you gotta run it 24/7.
Mm.
Yeah. One more thing, the extension office notified me, they're asking permission to use the commissioner's room. And Tony, I don't know if there's anything booked on this, maybe they've got to you, but June 24th at 6 PM, they wanna have a ambassadors program. And the other date is July 1st, 6 PM. I'd like to use the commissioners.
What was the
First
kind of a
date,
program?
this is for the extension office
Yeah.
4-H ambassador program.
Oh, yeah, for
June
4-H,
24th.
yeah. Probably to, select their
Tuesday
people or
evenings.
I
something.
don't have anything that I'm seeing in blue on the calendar for the 24th. Shannon, are you seeing anything?
And
But
then
I do have the first. I do see them on there for the first.
So there's nothing down for June 24th, but you say they wanted at what time?
6 PM. July 1st, they're also asking 6 PM. Is that someone else, Shannon, or?
July first, no, it's them.
Okay.
They've got it reserved.
Okay, we'll get them added for June 24th at 6 also.
Plenty going on, that's all I have.
What, after we did that, you did research on the courthouse and things needed. What's the next step to get these kind of things? If there's recommendations of fixing that foundation and what's the next step in that procedure?
I haven't even seen the report, I know nothing about it.
Yeah.
I know I gave you a I can print off another copy if you wanna see, or I can email it to you one way or
So
another.
I don't know.
Okay.
And then you can kind of develop a plan.
Yeah.
Probably
Yeah.
the most immediate thing I think was that back stairway.
I think once you get a look at it, you'll be able to tell what and just build that into a budget for over the next couple of years. I don't know that there's anything on it that was urgent, but it's just kind of things that we need to get around to eventually.
I agree. The step, I think, is the biggest.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Very good.
don't have
Anything else for Rick?
no. Good.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Rick.
Appreciate it.
Dan, we've taken care of. Moving on, I saw Mark come in.
Morning, Mark.
Two subdivisions, this one is just a single lot being turned into a 2-lot subdivision. Broke out 2 acres and then left 6,
Location.
300 west, 100 south.
Yard west.
It's all 300 west,
South.
300 west right over here.
Okay, everybody has access. Your committee went through it, right?
Yep.
I move we accept the, Eden Swartz subdivision.
I'll second that.
Yeah, motion passes. Thanks, guys.
The long-awaited Holly Ridge. It's coming to an end.
Are you disappointed?
No.
Okay, Okay, now we need to speak up. This is the Holly Ridge estate
Yep.
subdivision. So we need to
Holly
speak up. We
Ridge.
have a couple,
Holly
there's some
Ridge.
people here that's interested.
Holly Ridge, Lot 9, Keesler Farms is, as presented.
Okay, what's happening? Tell us what's going on
We've
here.
gone through went through the plan commission because this was a major, not a minor, like we normally see. And this is the final step for it. We've got 9 lots on the north side of Winchester Road.
Okay,
This is the last step for it.
lot 9. This specifically is lot 9. Is there anything?
It all started out, as lot 9 and now it's,
Oh, okay. So
now,
this is just the final stamp on,
There's nine lots technically, because you got 8 buildable lots. And 1 lot in the back.
and then on the other side.
Yep. That's it.
All right, motion to approve.
I'll second.
okay, motion carried.
I got today.
Okay, Mark, thank you.
You want this paperwork for the car? I assume you don't get the title on it. That's appreciated.
You got me,
Yes.
all right.
Thank you. Yeah. Picked it up last one.
We keep your title in our office, right?
Yes.
Yeah, then I'll give this to her and when we get it, we'll.
Picked up the newspaper last Wednesday, got the letter Wednesday. If you
And
didn't-
that
if
was
If you didn't know any different, you wouldn't know it.
Brand new.
Yes. Yep, the 5-year plan that we discussed 5 years ago.
Good.
Because the last time I did it, we took it to, till it had a problem, and they were like,
Yeah.
then it was an emergency, and then that was decided by you all sitting here at that time to put on a 5-year rotation. I had about 126,000 miles on it. We figured it'd be in the 25 to 30 range in 5 years. And I was, and,
Probably won't decrease any.
no, it was still worth 11.5 for the trade, so.
I meant the mileage won't decrease either.
No, it'll be the same.
Well, I think that last time when we had a transmission problem, we sold it for next to nothing at auction.
Surprisingly, it went for like $5,000.
Did it really?
Shocking, because we put very clearly that it had a problem. And
Did you write on their handyman special?
I don't know how it went, but it did. Thank you.
All right.
Oh, you sliding in here, Clayton. You got anything for us this morning?
I do not. Nope, unless you guys have any questions on anything
Well,
ongoing at the
Yes,
moment.
you know, do we have any kind of an update on the fiber optic line that I know.
Down Winchester Road.
Yeah, we left it at basically stopped. I mean, everything stopped because we don't have, the ball's back in the court of the company that's trying to put that in. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So,
We told them to stop.
so they have to decide what they want to do, and I suppose they'll be in contact with
Correct.
your office somewhere.
Or Brad. I mean, they'll be in contact as to how they plan to move forward. I would assume with a different route.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're not going along as planned because we
Yeah.
told them to stop.
Right. Or I think the other option was to deal with individual property owners along the line that,
Sure, similar to other private utilities, dealing with, requesting easements or requesting right of way for themselves. Correct.
thanks, I appreciate that.
Any other questions for Clayton?
I don't have anything right now.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything.
Meeting with.
Appreciate your work.
Oh, we're still discussing with the people that own the building across the street from.
Still trying to get in touch with them, yes. I can let you know I'm trying in earnest.
Yeah.
I leave them a voicemail, about every other day. So.
Well, just so we know, sometime we're gonna have to move forward on this project with a location.
Understood, yeah.
And I don't know if you need put it in legal writing or whatever, but hey, if they're not unwilling to get back in contact, you know, somewhere along the line, we just say they're not interested.
Yeah.
You mean the courthouse project you're talking about?
Understood.
now?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
I think next step to, yeah, I'm hopeful I'll get in contact with them hopefully this week, if not next week, and get something scheduled.
Okay.
Good deal. Thanks.
Well, that'd be nice to at least have that conversation.
Correct.
Anything else?
I don't,
Okay. Shannon, what have you got for us this morning?
Thank you.
Anything from you guys before we open it up to the public?
The only thing, I guess it kind of pertains a little bit to that, but it pertains to a lot, is, I went up to a seminar that Barnes and Thornburg put on. And primarily what the discussion was on lit and the changes that have been proposed by the legislature and the way lit operates, the opportunities it gives the county, the cities, which would involve Decatur and Bern. So it's just like they took our current system, threw everything in a box and just shook it as long and hard as they could. So there's gonna be from the seminar, Barnes and Thornburg anticipated the legislature going back and revisiting a lot of what was proposed. But in the meantime, everybody's kind of waiting on DLGF to come back with
Kind of an interpretation or
an
something?
opinion
Yeah.
of what happened. And so there's just so much up in the air as far as how that might shake out. And so I think Tony, I went up and talked to Tony about it, and he's obviously in direct contact with people in the know, and I appreciate Tony's insight and consultation with Jason from Baker Tilly. And Tony, do you have anybody else coming up to discuss that with council, or?
Eventually Darren Bates will. Eventually, we're getting more information from Travis and the group that he put together, which includes DLGF, Ben Tooley, and some others. So that all should be coming to us fairly quickly. The one thing I can tell you about lit is that I heard directly from Travis. They pushed that out so that it's not 2026. They pushed it out purposely, knowing when they meet again in session next year, some of that might change. My thought is, and their thought is, eventually in 28, lit will go away as we know it. Local income tax councils, that will all change, and the municipalities that are over 3,500 people will be able to create their own lit. County will be able to create its own lit. We just have to see what that looks like and how much money, how that all works out. So until they come up with better language next year and tell us what that's gonna look like, it's just a hard call on exactly what they do. Because I don't know if Clayton, if you guys have looked at that any further or not, but that's what Travis told me.
I guess part of the thing that I'm thinking, like, I guess Doug, to your point, when we were looking at lit funding as one of the options to fund a project like this, we're kind of up in the air. I mean, we can move the plans for the project ahead. We can continue to revise the plan and work with Elevatus, but with funding wise,
that's a council thing. They're gonna
yeah,
have to figure it out.
So, I guess, us three just need to keep the discussion open as far as.
I think we just keep driving on. Council told us to bring them a project, and I think that's what we're trying to do, is
Yeah.
bring them a project.
Right.
Yeah.
Bring them a location and a project.
Yeah.
So if you want to have another meeting with Elevatus, or if you would like to have another.
Well, I think
what do you
first
guys-
step is for Clayton to get these people to either say I'm interested or I'm not.
Feels to me like the project is a little bit location dependent right now. And
Right.
if we can figure that out over the next 30 days, maybe, then that gives us a what the next step would be, I would think.
Yeah, if we can come up with, hey, if the finance gets worked out with the council, we got a place to build.
Yeah.
And this is what we need.
And this is what we'd like to build.
The other thing going forward too, originally, the money was paid to elevate us, it was approved out of ARPA. That's gone. So if bills come in, we're gonna have to know where to pay that out of.
Right.
Yeah.
We
Well,
got the last
yeah.
one, the last one's in the claim cycle to be paid,
Right.
Yeah.
and we found a way to pay it, but there's not enough in there to pay another one.
Understood.
Yeah, but
So
we shouldn't have too many bills
Well,
before.
Just consulting bills.
The last two bills were the 1,900 for the updated estimate and the 3,100 for
For the courthouse.
structural.
Yeah, structural
And I think
engineering.
that's what's in
So as
there.
far as I know, those are the last invoices that we'll see.
Anything after that, we'll have to discuss where to pay it from.
Yeah,
Good. Very good.
so maybe I'll call Dave again and see what their thoughts are and let them know where we're at.
And as a reminder, Jason Simler will be here to discuss Senate Bill 1 and House enacted House enacted
Act.
HEA
1427.
1427. He will be here in person to discuss and answer questions surrounding that. That might be one of the questions you ask, you know, because they have helped us with building projects and so forth in the past. So
Yeah,
that might be a good time to do it.
yeah, for sure.
House Enrolled Act. Saying that.
I don't have anything else, Dave.
I'll just give you a quick update. I did attend a park board meeting last Monday night. Last Monday night, yeah, maybe I pulled Doug, but, brought up the possibility of transferring ownership from the Monroe Park from Adams County Park Board to the town of Monroe. They were very supportive of that. There's kind of some issues we need to work out from a timing perspective on when that might happen. Town of Monroe is very much excited about getting control of that park and being able to add some updates to it. Park Board understands that their hands are kind of tied as far as being able to really provide meaningful updates and upgrades to that park. So I think both parties are in agreement. Right now, we just need to make sure that the timing is right when we want to make that transfer, but I think that's been approved by both bodies or ready to be approved by both bodies. I asked them not to do anything officially on it until we find out exactly what needs to be done before it can be transferred. So that's kind of in the attorney's lap now, but that's
So
just
do
a
we need to
quick
talk to
update on
Monroe's
that.
attorney?
Yeah, I don't know whether we can find that guy or not, but that's all I had. We done have anything else?
Well, I mean, to me, it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah.
If they're able and willing to accept that property and maintain it, enjoy
Yeah, I
it.
think they're excited about getting it and adding some improvements. It's not really had any improvements for many, many years, so that would be a good opportunity for them to make some changes there.
The only thing was, and I haven't looked, I don't know if that park included, there was a retention or detention.
It does, that,
And that was that was accepting water from like 800 acres into that area. And then after it moved out of that area, was moving through, water down through town and making its way out to the Yellow Ditch. So, I mean,
I mentioned that
don't
to
know
Mike
if there's-
Whirling to see if that would be a concern of his, if we transferred ownership over to the town of Monroe. He wasn't really concerned about that. So I think the issue, obviously it's in town of Monroe's best interest if that stays maintained and, that town of Monroe's drainage is a big part of that
So
as well.
would this decision, involve our drainage board at all?
I don't know, because right now the ownership it's it does include that, smaller retention pond, a total of 6 acres, with that pond sets on it. But that's currently right now in the name of the county park board. So it would, that whole, in my mind, that whole piece of ground, that whole tract would transfer from the county park board to the town of Monroe.
So I don't know what that cooperation looks like, but
Yeah.
it seems
Yeah.
like it might involve the drainage board. I don't know.
Yeah. maybe. Good point. Good question.
Cause I know when we looked at running a new stormwater system down through Monroe, it was just like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Monroe drainage is tough.
Some issues.
Okay, anything else from commissioners?
I don't.
Sheriff?
Two items, more guidance probably from the county attorney. With the last issue, it was not an issue, but the No Kings wanting to use the courthouse grounds on Saturday for a protest. They did end up using it, they worked things out, but I would like some type of more formal procedure of permission being granted. And we talked in a short email, maybe you guys coming up with some type of ordinance where there's a form that a person requests and you guys approve and we have something on paper. Because right now, usually someone comes in and say, hey, can we use the courthouse lawn for this? You guys say yes, and that's it. There's no real written record of it. So that's one thing I'd like to see what you guys' thoughts are, if you want to do it, move forward to it. And second, we talked last week about Paradise Lane. Is that a public nuisance or a private nuisance? I need guidance from you guys, kind of like the Row Acres that we received guidance from you, to see what we need to move, because there's some people that are not doing any improvements and others are. And if they're not, if that's a public nuisance, then we can move forward with our ordinance. But if it's deemed a private nuisance, then we're done with it. So just if we can get a determination that it's public or private.
I think, cause we talked to Brad and asked him if we plowed that road, and we do, right?
We do, but we also plow up by Row Acres too, but it's just, like I said, just one.
I meant to get to that one last week,
No
so
problem.
I'll get to you this week on it.
But Sergeant Hobbaker's gone out there and some people have made improvements or clean up, but others, the original property generated the complaint has not. So he wants to move forward with it, but he wanted to know about this opinion. So once we get that from him, then we'll move forward with it and follow our ordinance if it's deemed a public
Yeah,
nuisance.
I talked to him a little bit yesterday. He said, yeah, some people are just like doing their best
Yep.
to
And,
clean it up.
and we're monitoring that, but there's a couple aren't, and we just want that determination. If it's not, then we'll move forward with our procedures. So, that's all I have.
Good, very good.
As far as back to the formal, request for using county property, you know, could we include something in there to where, it's passive, there's no obscenities, there's no, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
You
know how
know,
we, I don't know how we.
I know that the
how we
city
write
has,
that.
the city has a form for when people want to take Madison Street Plaza. I don't know if you want to take a look at their form or Claytonwood or not.
No, I had reached out to Mark and asked if
Okay.
they could come up with something to propose that we could look at in the way of a statute or something that would indicate how all of our facilities are used, by outside requests for used by outside individuals or outside entities.
Yeah.
And just to be clear, we had no issues with the protesters. There's,
Good.
I don't know, 70, 80. They coordinated with the statue tour and they basically stayed away from the courthouse because all the streets were closed. So they went out there to Freeman Park right there at Second and we had no issues. And they spent their time and they dispersed. So
Good.
there's no issues whatsoever.
Good deal.
I think, yeah, take a look at the city thing, see what they got. No use creating wheels here.
Good. Thanks, Sheriff. Anybody else from the public? Guys, speak to anything?
Just a
State your name, please.
Steve Miller.
Okay.
Clarification on the Zaos status. Has that permit, is there a stop work for that, or has the permit been withdrawn for that? And is Zaos, you said we're gonna work with individual property owners?
That's left up to them. I mean, the permit's been withdrawn and their understanding of that, correct, Brad? I mean, that's
It's been put on hold or
Yeah.
stopped, yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
So as a property owner in Winchester, I was wondering, are we gonna be notified of any changes in status on this? Or
Specifically as to what? I mean, at this point, you know, again, we as the county, we've done what we can do and then we told them to stop.
so, is there a point of contact we can contact for updates? I mean, if Zanos does decide to come through, are they gonna contact every property owner individually or is it done as a group? Or
You know, I
is
wonder
there-
what would be the best, cause you're an out-of-state landowner, right? You live in New York?
New York, yes.
So, I
It's
mean,
worse than you think.
Brad, do you wanna be a point of contact or?
Well,
what?
basically, as of right now, the permit is stopped.
Hey, Tyler.
So as far as, Clayton, help me if I'm mistaken, as far as the county's concerned, they're done. Now it's on them to reach out and get hold of the property owner. And that's now on them, is that correct, Clayton?
Correct. It would have to be something that they, as the private entity, would need to be reaching out to the landowners themselves. That's not something that's gonna, the county at this point, having given the stop work order to them, isn't an intermediary between the private residents and that business.
Now, are there any arguments still on the table that would open that permit back up?
I think there are. I think we're still trying to figure out exactly what the easement is down through there. So there's some question as to what the easement rights are. I think we're still doing some research on that, but at this point, we've indicated that they needed to stop their work. And we've withdrawn the easement right that we gave to them. So,
At one time, it was stated that there was never an easement right given. Steve, you just said that there is.
We-
I think he's
no,
mistaken.
no.
I think he's mistaken when he says
There's
easement.
some key words that you keep mixing up. Right of way, easement, and permit. And those are key words.
Clayton, there's still some research being done as to exactly how that road was determined back in the 1800s and kind of what the rights are that go along with the determination of that road. So it's still being researched, to be quite honest with you. We just don't, it's not quite the same as what it is on many of our other roads, is what we're finding out. So,
Is there a goal or a deadline for the research?
no,
But it is ongoing.
it was happening in this room a week ago today. Yeah, so it is ongoing.
We just need to have Clayton read all those big books over there.
It was the answer we think is in one of those big books.
I could bring one over to him, if that'd help.
You knew which one and which page. They're all handwritten, by the way, so.
Have you ever looked at those?
Yes, I have.
It's pretty interesting looking through there.
So that's kind of where we're at, guys. We've stopped the work. At this point, the ball's back in the court of the contractor or the vendor to figure out what they want to do next, if they want to continue running that line. I don't know what their options are, honestly. I just don't know.
Okay, now if the permit is going to be reissued, will there be notification given for that? Or,
Well, that's where it'd be good if you had a
Yeah.
point of contact,
yeah.
whether it was Brad or whether it was the attorney or.
Okay, that's, now I'm gonna bring up another legal question, sorry, Clayton. So if they go through, if Zayo would go through and make, set up arrangements with every landowner, property owner, then how does that work to come back to us? Do they have to come back to us and also get a permit if they've already got everything set up with all landowners?
If they're outside your right, they would have to.
But if they wanna be in our right of way.
If they're adjacent or crossing, you want the permit where they would cross. But I guess the question would be is, what's the notification when any utility permit comes up? Let's say it's just on some other road, ignore this location. If the utility permit comes up at a different intersection, how is the notification done? Essentially, that's what you're asking.
Well, technically, this isn't a utility. It's a private company putting in private lines for profit for that company. It's not a utility, it's something different. It's outside of that category. So it's kind of a new area that I'm sensing here
Yeah.
for Adams County.
I think it is. I think it's something that we need to think more clearly about and understand better. I think we'll ask better questions the next time something like this comes up. So I think we're smarter because of it. Unfortunately, I hate it that it happened. Because now we've given a company permission, now we've withdrawn that permission. Obviously, that's bad. We have interrupted your lives and your property and trying to figure out what the right thing is to do there, and that's bad as well. So we'll do better.
Well, and I almost kind of wonder if we can differentiate this private utility from Community Fiber Service and from Craigville Telephone Service. You know, those are also private entities. And I'm not sure where to draw that line between public and private, because I think those are also private companies. So, you know, maybe that's something we need to look at too when we approve permits.
To me, it
for the
feels
CFS.
it feels like it's an important question to ask, is whether it's going to benefit the residents of Adams County or not. And if it's not going to benefit the residents of Adams County, it feels like it's crossing like a pipeline does, or like I&M does when they move a transmission line, versus the utilities that the work that we approved today was to benefit consumers or residents of Adams County. You think about moving a pole and changing it, but you're right. Those utilities, almost every one of them is private utility. I&M is private utility, NIPSCO is private utility.
So I guess what I'm saying, it's not unprecedented to
Yeah.
grant permits to private companies.
To me, the difference was that this company, in my mind, and I don't know legally what leg we have to stand on, but in my mind, there is a difference between somebody that's just traversing Adams County to get through Adams County to deliver services to another part of the country or another county or whatever, or somebody that's bringing services into Adams County.
Well, and that issue may come to light more, you know, because the state, and I'm not sure how that bill came about, because initially they wanted, the state wanted control over utility transmission lines through your county, but they also wanted control of establishing actual utilities in your county. But I think that didn't pass, but I'm not sure how it shook out, whether they still decided to take the right that they could run a transmission line through your county, whether it was gas, electric, water, or whatever, because there were issues with some of the big Google plants they were putting in and stuff. And so they wanted the ability to run through your county, whether the county said so or not. So and that's where I don't know if something like this would be taken out of our hands at some point.
Well, part of what they sell too are private lines, where there's a customer on one end, there's a customer on the other end, no one taps in between.
Right.
But in theory, that would go through your property.
Right.
And if something would happen with that line, there's a lot of responsibility, exposure.
Well, just like the high pressure gas lines that are coming through your property.
I know.
You know, they're going from one end to the other, and anybody in between is just like, too bad, so sad. And so, but those are easements that have been granted probably more through private landowners, but it does cross county roads.
Even when those were installed originally, those individual landowners had the opportunity to hook into those pipelines, whether you realize that or not. That's what serviced the homes of those landowners. So there's a huge difference between a public utility and a private utility. There is no opportunity for anyone to hook into this internet line. As Steve said, NIPSCO, I&M, those serve the neighborhood. This here is not going to serve anyone in this neighborhood.
So I think those are just questions that we'll ask going forward.
The line itself may not service locals, but we don't know what's transmitted through those lines that might indirectly come back and do some things. There's always a possibility of that. We just don't know the total infrastructure of it. Perhaps to connect wherever it's coming from through Allen County, going to wherever. That's a line that does something. it creates information, communication, something. Indirectly, it could affect Adams County.
I think in this particular instance, we had two issues. One is the right of way issue and how that road was established initially. And the other is the actual utility that's asked to use the right of way. So those are two kind of different issues. One is the utility one that we want to enable to use our right of way. And the second one is what exactly is our right of way?
And maybe a typing of the word utility. Because NIPSCO, I&M, telephone company, they're utilities, they connect to houses. This is a business.
And I think part of this is just my personal confession. I've been so adamant about getting better broadband service in Adams County, and I've met with multiple providers of broadband individually, one-on-one. Please bring broadband to Adams County. We need better broadband in Adams County. That when this company came through as a broadband utility company, my assumption was that they would be providing broadband service to residents of Adams County. And that was just that was a bad assumption on my part. So shame on me for not asking more questions. I'll ask more questions from here on. The second issue then is the whole right of way along Winchester Road is different than, and Winchester Road was established in a different manner, it sounds to me like, than what many of our roads were as far as the right of ways that we have along those utility right of ways that we have along that road versus some other roads. So we're still wrestling with the whole right of way question. You're right. I used the wrong word. I think right of way is the word I wanted to
I think
use.
it's a bigger picture than just Winchester Road, though, just simply from that information I got from Mr. James McDonald out of Terre Haute. It covers a lot of people in the state of Indiana. And he was so gracious to accept my phone call, and we had a very good discussion over it. And there's a lot more involved than just section 18 of the Rip Township. It covers county roads.
So what is your point then?
I think it will affect more than just the stretch that Steve and I
understand, but your point is that we shouldn't be allowed to place
I never said,
utilities in the right of way?
I never said that at all, but I think it's to do so without any contact with the landowners and to put that liability on the landowners without any contact at all. I don't think that's possible.
Very good. Well, anyway, that's where we're at with this project. As far as I know, it's been stopped. The way that they proceed is going to be up to them to try to figure out their path forward with how they want to run this line. If they reach out to you individually, they'll reach out to you individually. We're still trying to wrestle with the whole right of way question on Winchester Road, but that's where we're at right now. Any other questions or concerns?
Steve, I have one thing.
Shoot.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if you were. Recently, I talked to you about the DMHA putting out an email for a matching grant opportunity for using the opioids funds. And so I drafted a letter, basically a letter of intent has to be submitted by the end of this month, just stating that we're considering applying for the funds.
Sure.
And so I've drafted a letter. Do you want me to read it to you? I need Steve's signature.
How long is it?
No, it's just a short paragraph.
Yeah, go ahead.
So on behalf of the Adams County Commissioners, I'm writing to express Adams County's intent to apply for the upcoming dollar-for-dollar match funding from the Family and Social Services Administrative Division of Mental Health and Addiction. The matching funds will be used to support the current use of our opioid settlement funds with our jail substance use prevention initiative called Project Connect. We're excited about the opportunity to partner with DMHA to further enhance the jail reentry program. Founded in 2024, Project Connect is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that serves inmates in the Adams County Jail who are preparing to be released back into the community. Our mission is to create a community where everyone has access to relationships, resources, and opportunities that they need to thrive.
With support from the DMHA, we plan to expand our services, which includes recovery coaches, substance abuse support groups, and reentry planning. This initiative aims to reduce recidivism in Adams County by preparing inmates for their upcoming release from incarceration. The total budget from this project is $125,000 per year, and we will be seeking $75,000 from this grant. Please feel free to contact me, et cetera, et cetera. Sincerely, Commissioners.
Good.
I have no problem
Questions?
supporting that letter.
Okay, make motion.
Thanks, Ian.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion passes.
Thanks to ChatGPT to how to write a letter
Wow,
of intent, you know?
I was like, man.
That's pretty slick, wasn't it?
Ooh.
I thought you called Clayton or something.
Nah, don't need Clayton anymore.
Chat GPT,
Right.
making lawyers
What's
obsolete.
the time frame?
I think that once the letter is submitted, I'm expecting July, we'll hear something from the next steps. And again, I don't know what the next step is. I assume there'll be some kind of a grant application process.
And made up- and made up
We'll go from
figures.
there.
You gotta-
Good.
Yeah.
Gotta go
I'll
through
keep an eye on
the
it.
procedure to get
Some things
anything.
out of that are clear, some that aren't.
Anything else before we adjourn?
The only other thing in it, last year, Kevin Biggs was applying for a grant to put housing up to support rehabilitation housing.
Mhm.
So what we did, and at that time I was chairman, so we wrote a letter in support of that project to the grant review committee. So this year, he is asking once again for a letter of support. And one of the things it outlines is, and I can show these to you, Clay. One of the things it outlines is the opportunity for additional housing on the property. So that's the letter we wrote last year that I signed. This is the letter. And this is not complete, but it's got just a couple. He wasn't sure what year the jail was built, and then so you can look at that and see, but it's a letter of support because they're trying to apply for a grant that I did.
Okay.
So,
Just, it doesn't cost us anything, just a letter of
No,
support,
just a
not
letter of
financial
support.
support, just.
Yeah.
Okay.
so,
So,
but it would have to be updated because at that time I was chairman and so.
okay, Clayton, look that over.
Is that-
if
is
they're
that
sure.
the
Bring that to us next
Same
week.
thing Rob Parker's about?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Rob talked to you about, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and when I talked to Kevin, he said he had a very good conversation with you, Rob did.
Yeah.
So.
Good. Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned.